Good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome to this important workshop on our formal test and exam procedures. As educators, we play a critical role in ensuring that assessments are fair, standardized, and aligned with CAPS and DBE policies. Our goal today is to go through all the rules, regulations, and processes that govern how we conduct, invigilate, and mark formal tests and exams. So, in this session, we want to cover national policies and regulations, our school specific rules, step by step procedures, and best practices for invigilation, marking, and reporting. So, by the end of this workshop, you will have a clear understanding of how to manage assessment professionally, ensuring integrity and consistency across all grades. Okay, so let's begin. So, starting with the DBE and CAPS regulations, the importance of standardized assessments. Before we dive into the details, let's take a moment and reflect on why formal assessments are important. So, assessments are not just about grading learners, they measure learners' progress and understanding, identify learner gaps that need to be intervened with, ensure fair and equal evaluation for all students, and they prepare learners for higher grades or external assessments, okay, and future studies. Our Department of Basic Education and Curriculum and Assessment Policy statements set clear guidelines on how we must conduct these assessments to maintain uniformity and credibility. Okay, so the next thing is the general rules for test and exam conduct. Um, we are familiar with these rules, but let's reinforce them to ensure we're on the same page. So, before the test and exam, moderation. Every test and exam must be moderated, okay, that we have done. Great. Before it is printed. This ensures the questions are fair, appropriate, and aligned with the curriculum. Exam room preparation, so desks must be spaced out and seating plans must be in place. No unauthorized materials should be in the room. Okay, so just to add on this part, yeah, there should be no unauthorized materials in the room. So please let them leave the bags outside of the room and then let them just take in the necessary stationery. Um, if it's a calculator, let them take it in a calculator, a pen, a pencil, a ruler, eraser. Okay, so all of those things can be taken into the hall, but nothing else, not their whole bag. Okay, so leave them outside the classroom, leave them outside the cafeteria, anything just not inside the venue. Okay, so instructions. Before the test begins, learners must be informed of all the rules, including time limits, required material, and misconduct consequences. Okay, so yes, the moment they step foot into that venue, um, they should know how long is the test going to be. They should know about the rules. They should know all of those things before they start. Okay. And then during the test and exam, no electronic devices. Okay. Learners may not have cell phones, smartwatches, or any unauthorized devices. Active invigilation. So please, teachers, you must walk around. Okay. You cannot be sitting and marking other papers. You cannot use your phones. Okay. So in that time of invigilation, you only stand and you walk through the students. Okay. And then strict silence. Any communication between learners during an assessment is not allowed and will be treated as misconduct. Okay. So later on, we will check how to treat misconduct. And paper collection. At the end of the session, all papers must be accounted for before learners leave the room. This implies that no student may leave the room early when they are done writing. Okay, so you get the students, They are very quick with writing, but they may not leave the venue. Okay, the times will be specified later on in the video. Then after the test and exam. So storage. Answer scripts must be stored securely before marking. Great, they will be safely stored. All scripts must be kept in the room until the head invigilator collects it. Okay, so this is when they are done writing. Um, yes, the chief invigilator will collect all the scripts and then just put them in the room safely again. Okay, so confidentiality. Teachers must not discuss test papers with students before the official feedback. Okay, so this brings us to the next part. Our school specific rules that we have in place to ensure a smooth and professional assessment process. Okay, so the next part is just applicable to our school, something we have put in place. So at Tadashi Academy, we have established additional regulations to strengthen our assessment integrity. So let's go over them quickly. So teachers must report 30 minutes before an exam or test begins to assist with setup and ensure readiness. Academic dishonesty or cheating must be reported immediately to the head invigilator with an incident report. So documents will be provided. So that document I will show you later on in the video. Learners who require special accommodations like extra time or scribes will write in the same venue as the other students but will be granted an additional 15 minutes per hour. So in our case, we don't actually, the scribes is not applicable to us, but extra time definitely. So for instance, if they write an hour paper, so for that hour, the extra class learners get hour and 15 minutes. If it's a 2 hour test, they get 2 hours and a half. Okay, so for every hour, you just add 15 minutes for them. No learner may leave the venue within the first 30 minutes or the last 15 minutes, obviously, because they should be seated when the scripts are collected. Emergency protocols. In case of a power failure or fire alarms, teacher must follow the school's evacuation and contingency plans. Okay, these rules just help us create a structured and reliable assessment environment. Now let's move on to the procedures we must follow for formal tests and exams. Okay, so submission and approval of question papers. So this was already done. Teachers submit draft question papers to the principal for moderation at least 2 weeks before the test or exam. Great, done. Moderated papers are reviewed and finalized before being sent for printing and secured storage. So mostly almost done. Papers are only accessed by the designated personnel on the day of the exam. So this will be all the people that are assigned to invigilate. Okay, so we'll get to that a bit later on. So next up is invigilation and exam room conduct. Okay, so teachers are assigned an invigilation schedule in advance. Okay, this will also be communicated later. Invigilators must arrive before the exam starts and ensure all rules are followed. If a learner is caught cheating, do not confront them immediately. Please do not do this. We cannot do this. We cannot interfere when they are writing. The only thing you can do is you can confiscate unauthorized materials. But you allow the learner to finish writing, please. And then you submit an incident report to the head invigilator. So the invigilation report will look something like this. Let me just get the form out. So it will look something like this. Okay, so the student name, the grade, the date, the subject, what exam they're writing, or what test they're writing, and what went wrong, what misconduct was done, and then a brief description, and then all of these. Okay, so the invigilator signs, the student signs, and the principal signs. Okay, so action taken against these learners will also be discussed later. Great. So, next, marking and moderation process. So, marking a deadline. Teachers must mark within 3 days of the exam. I know this is a very tight deadline, but 3 days would make our lives easier to process the marks. If there are mistakes, it can be fixed and all that. So, that's it for the marking deadline, 3 days. Script collection. Teachers can collect the scripts in room 2.1 at 2 p.m. on the day of writing and must return the scripts within 3 days. Okay, so for instance, let's say you write on Monday. Okay, you write Monday from this time to, let's say, 10. Okay, then at 2 p.m., you can come and collect your scripts in my classroom, okay, in room 2.1, and then you can mark all your question papers, and within 3 days, it must be returned. Obviously, because the deadline is 3 days. Okay, so not the morning or whatever, at 2 p.m., after everything was already checked and all the misconduct situation has been treated and all those admin stuff is done at 2 p.m., then you can come and collect the scripts to mark. Okay. And then moderation, a sample of scripts must be checked to ensure fair and consistent marking. So after everything was marked, it will be moderated. They say here only a collection of scripts or just a few scripts, a sample. Because the school is not that big and we don't have a lot of kids, we can actually moderate all the scripts just to double check because of the strict deadline. And then mark entry, all marks must be recorded in SASAMS or the school system before the deadline, to be discussed later. Okay, so that'll be discussed later. Teachers must provide structured feedback. So this is just for feedback and learner support. Teachers must provide structured feedback to learners, so learners understand their mistakes. Any marking errors should be corrected promptly and reported. If a learner is absent for a test or exam, they must submit a valid excuse, and which that is only a doctor's note for possible reschedule. Okay, so they might still write it, it's just going to be rescheduled. Okay, and then handling incidents and discipline. So, what happens when a learner violates exam rules? So, cheating consequences, depending on the severity, a learner may receive a 0 mark for the paper, a disciplinary hearing with parents, or further penalties as per DBE guidelines. That is not the route I would like to go. I would not want any of these to occur, but in the event that it does occur, I will not want it to get up to this stage of the DBE getting involved. Okay, so the absenteeism. Okay, so that's all the learners that are absent. Medical certificates must be submitted within 24 hours. If they are absent for more than this 24 hours, then they just get 0. Okay. The school reserves the right to reschedule or cancel a makeup test. Okay. So we can cancel a test or cancel the makeup test. Okay. So no rescheduling. I think from my side this was it. Let me just make sure. Okay. So the final piece of admin. So grades 4 to 7. They will write in their register classes. Okay, so to maintain familiarity and minimize disruptions. Okay, so this is basically the primary school, so from grade 4 to 7. And then the high school kids from grade 8 to 12 will write in the cafeteria, where seating arrangements will be structured for fairness and proper supervision. Okay, so everyone in the cafeteria, grade 8 to 12. Important, the test time must always be displayed clearly for all students to see. Okay, so that could be a clock, that could be you writing on the board the time that is left, or whatever, as long as they can see what time they have left. Okay, this prevents unnecessary distractions. So if one kid asks how much time is left, they distract the other pupils. Okay, so just to prevent this, please write the remaining time on the board or show it on the board. Okay, test and exam timetable structure. So during the test and exam period, we will follow a separate timetable. So there will be no block time. The kids will still come to school, they will still study at school, do work at school. So this allows students to ask subject-related questions during non-test periods. Okay, so test periods are always just the first period. That's when they write test. Teachers must be prepared for answering students' academic queries during non-test periods and assisting students in preparing for upcoming tests in their subjects. So the timetable is yet to be completed, so for the test series, but it is available on the Google Drive as of this moment. It is available. It's not completed completely, but it's a start. I have started filling out most of the teachers in specific periods. Okay, and that is it from all the admin side. So now for the Q&A section. So if you do have questions, please do ask them.